Hey everyone, welcome back. If this is your first time here, I'm James. And before we even get into today's topic, I've got to ask, how's life treating you lately? Because honestly, it's been one of those weeks for me.
Yeah, same here. Nothing dramatic, just busy in that quiet, draining way. Work, responsibilities, conversations you don't feel fully ready for, and somehow English always sneaks into those moments.
Exactly. And that's actually a perfect way to enter today's topic, because we're talking about something almost every English learner has experienced. That moment when someone talks to you, you understand them, and then your brain just goes completely empty.
That pause where you know you should respond, but suddenly every word you've ever learned disappears. It's not confusion, it's pressure.
Yeah, and that pressure hits harder because the situation itself is usually simple. It's not a debate or a presentation, it's everyday stuff. Someone asking how you are, what you think, or what you did.
And that's the frustrating part. You hear the question clearly, you understand it perfectly, but forming the answer feels way harder than it should.
That's why today isn't about advanced sentences or perfect grammar. It's about survival language, what you can say in the moment so the conversation doesn't die and you don't panic.
Because silence isn't always comfortable, especially when the other person is waiting and looking at you like, so?
Right. And a lot of learners think that if they don't answer immediately, they've failed. But that idea alone creates the freeze.
Which is ironic because native speakers pause all the time. We hesitate, restart, change our minds mid-sentence. It's normal.
So let's clear something up early. When your mind goes blank, it doesn't mean your English is bad.
It usually means you care too much about sounding right.
Exactly. Your brain switches from communication mode to performance mode, and performance mode is exhausting.
And once that happens, even simple words feel unreachable.
So the real question isn't, how do I sound smarter? It's, how do I keep the conversation alive?
And the answer is simpler than most people expect.
You don't need a good answer, you just need an answer.
Something that buys you time, lowers the pressure, and lets your thoughts catch up.
For example, when someone asks you something and your mind blanks, you don't have to respond with the full idea immediately.
You can start with a soft opener, something that tells the other person, I'm thinking.
Phrases like, that's a good question, or let me think for a second, are incredibly powerful.
And they're not filler. Native speakers use them constantly.
They do two things at once. They keep the conversation moving, and they reduce the emotional pressure on you.
That pressure, by the way, is what we mean when we say mental load. It's the weight your brain feels when it's trying to do too much at once.
And once that weight drops a little, words start coming back.
Another option is being honest in a simple way.
Yeah, honesty without apology.
You can say, I'm not sure how to explain this, or I know what I mean, but I need a second.
That doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. And it actually builds connection because the other person understands what's happening.
So instead of fighting the blank moment, you acknowledge it and move through it, which is way more effective than freezing.
And once you realize you're allowed to do that, speaking English feels less like a test.
And more like a normal interaction between two people.
That shift alone changes everything.
And once you stop fighting those blank moments, something interesting happens. You start noticing how often other people do the same thing.
Yeah, that realization hits hard. You start hearing native speakers hesitate, restart sentences, even abandon ideas halfway through.
Which is funny because we grow up thinking fluent English means smooth, perfect sentences all the time.
When in reality, fluent English is messy, it's flexible, it bends.
And that's where another mistake learners make comes in. They think every response has to be complete, detailed, and impressive.
But most daily conversations don't work like that. People aren't asking for essays.
They're just checking in, reacting, keeping things moving.
So when someone asks you something like, what do you think about it, and your mind blanks, you don't need a deep opinion.
You can respond lightly, something like, I haven't thought about it much yet, or I'm still figuring it out.
And that's a full answer. It does the job.
What matters is that the conversation continues without tension.
Exactly. Tension is the real enemy here, not vocabulary.
Because tension makes your body stiff, your breathing shallow, and your thinking slow.
That's why sometimes the smartest thing you can say is something very simple.
Like reacting instead of explaining.
Right, reactions are underrated. Saying, that's interesting, that's surprising, or even, I didn't expect that, keeps you involved,
And reactions don't require planning, they're instinctive.
which makes them perfect for moments when your brain feels empty.
Another thing people forget is that it's okay to ask the other person something back.
Yeah, flipping the conversation is natural. You answer briefly, then pass the ball.
Like, I'm not totally sure yet, what about you? That buys time and creates balance.
And balance is important because conversations aren't performances, they're shared.
Exactly. You're not there to entertain or impress, you're there to connect.
That mindset shift removes so much unnecessary pressure.
And once pressure drops, confidence starts building quietly.
Not the loud confidence where you dominate conversations.
But the calm kind where you trust yourself to handle moments even when they're awkward.
Awkwardness, by the way, isn't something to avoid at all costs.
No, it's part of real communication, even between fluent speakers.
Sometimes there's silence, sometimes there's a weird pause, and then life moves on.
And nothing bad happens.
Which is something learners don't realize until they experience it enough times.
That's why practice matters. Not textbook practice, but exposure.
Exposure meaning hearing and using English in normal, imperfect situations.
Exactly. And if you're listening to this while doing something ordinary, walking, commuting, resting, that already counts.
Because your brain is learning rhythm, tone, pacing.
And that makes those blank moments less scary over time.
They still happen, but they don't control you anymore.
You handle them instead of fearing them.
And that's the real progress most people overlook.
You know, something else that really helps in those blank moments is realizing you're allowed to be unfinished.
Yeah, people think every sentence has to land perfectly, like a final version. But real speech is full of half ideas that slowly become clear.
Exactly. You can start talking before the sentence is fully formed in your head.
And that feels scary at first, but it's actually how most fluent speakers talk.
They begin with something small, then adjust as they go. They pause, add, correct themselves.
So when your mind goes blank, instead of waiting for the perfect sentence, you can start with a direction.
For example, saying something like, I'm trying to explain this properly, but what I mean is, gives you space.
And space is everything in those moments. It slows the conversation down just enough for your brain to catch up.
Another helpful thing is using comparisons.
Yeah, comparisons are powerful because they don't require exact vocabulary.
You can say, it's kind of like, or it reminds me of, and suddenly you're communicating again.
Even if the comparison isn't perfect, the idea gets across.
And most people aren't judging your language the way you think they are.
They're listening for meaning, not mistakes.
That's a big one. Meaning over perfection.
And if you ever feel stuck mid-sentence, it's okay to reset.
Yeah, saying, let me say that differently, or that's not exactly what I meant, is completely natural.
Those phrases are signs of clarity, not weakness,
They show you're engaged and trying to communicate accurately.
which is the whole point of language.
And over time, these small habits build confidence without you forcing it.
Confidence that comes from experience, not memorization.
So if you're listening right now and thinking, this sounds nice, but I still freeze, that's okay.
Freezing doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're learning in real conditions.
And real conditions are always messy.
But they're also where real improvement happens.
So next time your mind goes blank, don't panic.
Use a pause. Use honesty. Use simple language.
Let the conversation breathe.
And trust that your English doesn't need to be perfect to be real.
That's honestly what we want this space to be about.
Yeah, English that feels human, flexible, and alive.
If this conversation helped you even a little, that's a win for us.
And if you want more episodes like this, real situations, real language, stick around.
Subscribe, follow, or save the episode so you don't miss what's next.
And feel free to share it with someone who freezes in English just like you.
We're building this room together, one conversation at a time.
Thanks for spending part of your day with us. We'll see you in the next one.